Right now they're off.
This is a courtesy announcement that the meeting is now live on YouTube and the meeting portal.
Okay, this is the call to order for the December 14th meeting of the Santa Clara County Planning Commission. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Moore is currently absent. Commissioner Escobar.
Here.
Commissioner Rouser.
Present.
Commissioner Belska.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Levy.
Present, and there's no one in the room 18 or older.
Thank you. Chairperson O'Donohue,
Present.
you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Please stand if you're able to join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. My name is Sean O'Donohue, and I'll be chairing tonight's Planning Commission meeting. On behalf of the Commission, welcome to today's meeting. Please turn off or mute all electronic devices, including cell phones that may interrupt the meeting. Item number 3 is public comment, the first item. This item is reserved for persons who wish to address the Commission on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission that is not on this agenda. The law does not permit Commission action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If Commission action or response is requested, the Commission may place the matter on a future agenda. Statements that require a response may be referred to staff for reply in writing. Members of the public who wish to address the Commission on a non-agendized item should request to speak at this time by giving a request to speak form to the Deputy Clerk if you're in chambers, or by using the blue raise hand icon if you're attending virtually. Are there any speakers?
We have no speakers in chambers or in the Zoom room.
Excellent. Okay. Item number 4 is the consent calendar, and I will go right to the clerk first.
Yes, there is a request from the Deputy Clerk, me, to make the following corrections to the 3 sets of minutes that were attached to the agenda. For the September 28 minutes, item number 9, packet page 755, to substitute the word "to" for the phrase "by the county for" in the first paragraph, line 5. The minutes are item number 16 on the agenda. For the October 28 minutes, to correct the roll call on packet page 757 to reflect Vice Chairperson Belska as present and Commissioner Moore as absent. Those minutes are item number 17 on the agenda. For the November 16 minutes, to correct the roll call on page 761 to reflect Vice Chairperson Belska as absent and Chairperson O'Donohue as present. Those minutes are item number 18 on the agenda. Also on the November 16 minutes, to correct the vote boxes for item numbers 4, 6, and 16 to reflect Robert Levy as commissioner instead of chairperson. The roll call and the vote box issues relate to elections and when information updates in the system and when the clerk catches or does not catch that change and ends up needing corrections. So my apologies, and those are the clerk corrections to the minutes.
Thank you very much for those corrections. Are there any questions, changes, or discussion from the Commission? Okay. Seeing none, are there any speakers on this item?
We have no speakers in chambers and none in the Zoom room.
Okay. I'd like to see if anybody wants to make a motion to approve the consent calendar. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Vice Chair Belska. Clerk, can you call the vote?
Commissioner Escobar,
Yes.
Commissioner Rouser,
I approve.
Commissioner Levy,
Yes,
Vice Chairperson Belska,
Yes.
Chairperson O'Donohue.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to item number 5, the SIMPAC report. Are there any, well, first of all, is Sharon Luna or a representative from SIMPAC, do they want
Yeah.
to speak?
Yes, Sharon Luna is present via Zoom. Her hand is raised. Sharon, we are unmuting you. Please accept the unmute to provide your report. And your mic is open.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Sharon Luna, the new chair of the San Martin Planning Advisory Committee. Our meeting was last night, and the clerk of the board, Cynthia, patiently walked me through it or guided me through it. The planning department was not able to be at the meeting due to some unforeseen issues. We did miss them. We welcomed our newest member and said goodbye to 3 long-term members, and each received a lovely plaque from the Office of Supervisor Arenas. Those members were outgoing chair James Poor, outgoing co-chair Monica Winders, and Diane Dean, a combined 30 years of service. We have currently 5 members and 2 vacancies. It was stated 3 last night, but the clarification is that it was 2. We approved the 2024 calendar based on the commissioner's date change to January 18th. Our work plan that we submitted has been approved by the Board of Supervisors, so we're excited to get started on items with our planning department partners. Our request for the SIMPAC bylaws and ordinance change is with the Santa Clara County Attorney, so we're waiting to hear from that. Victoria Lamb, the policy aide from Supervisor Arenas, invited those in attendance to SIMPAC to come to Supervisor Arenas's new office that is opening up in Gilroy on Saturday the 16th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. The Highland office will still be available to members of her staff. Victoria also stated that they were opening a child advocacy office in Gilroy to serve the needs of children and of sexual abuse and other crimes. Currently, they have to go to San Jose. She also mentioned farm worker housing, that Supervisor Arenas is very supportive of this. The committee discussed as far as future agenda items that we wanted to handle during the first quarter, and that was inviting code enforcement and the Department of Health out to attend a meeting. Roads and airports, and this was twofold, to get information in regard to the traffic, trucks that are currently going down the roads. We feel that they're bypassing the way station, and also to get information in regard to what is going on with the San Martin Airport. Now that there has been movement with the Reed Hillview closure, we want to make sure that we're proactive instead of reactive in regard to our airport. We also discussed about to address or to invite someone to address the influx of residential mental health facilities currently coming into San Martin, how they are approved at the state and county levels, who is addressing the zoning code of not clustering these facilities in certain areas. Currently, we have 4 in a 1-mile area, along with 6 sexual offenders. We also talked about the San Martin Design Plan guidelines. It's part of our work plan, but we're really interested in getting started to see if there's actually a need for it, and also see what updates need to be done. I'd like to thank you all, and if you have any, do you have any questions? If not, happy holidays and all the best in 2024. Thank you.
I think Commissioner Rouser has a question.
Well, not a question, but as of next month, there will be 3 openings on the committee. So if you know of anyone that would like to be on it, they need more people. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Are there any speakers on this item?
We have no speakers on the item.
Okay. And just for the record, Commissioner Moore is joining us. Welcome. Okay, item number 6, Ventana School modification. Item number 6 is a public hearing to consider major modification of a concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit and architecture and site approval to allow construction of 2 new classrooms totaling 1,923 square feet, modification of an existing kitchen building to create a smaller kitchen and an art classroom, adjustment of the pickup drop-off location, and reduction of parking to 140 spaces. CEQA exempt pursuant to Section 15314, Class 14 of the CEQA guidelines. The owners, Christ Episcopal Church and Ventana School. Applicant Wendy Wu, property address 1040 Border Road, Los Altos. Assessors parcel number 336-06-010, zoning R1E-20-N1, supervisory district 5. Does the clerk have a Levine Act announcement?
Yes, we do. Item number 6 is subject to the Levine Act. Any party or their agents must disclose on the record a contribution of more than $250 made to a board member as described on page 3 of the agenda. Participants who have a financial interest and their agents are requested to make a similar disclosure.
Okay, thank you. Does staff have a presentation?
Thank you, Chair O'Donoghue. We have with us today, I believe the commission has had a presentation previously by Associate Planner Paria Seif. She's accompanied by Principal Planner Robert Salisbury, and we'll hand it on over to Paria to do the presentation for you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Deputy Director, Ms. Mikhail. Good evening, Chair O'Donoghue and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Paria Seif, Project Planner for item number 6 on the agenda. The project before you is a
And
request
one moment, you might want to make the slide go to the full screen before you start. There you go.
Okay, sorry. The project before you is a concurrent land use application for a major modification of a use permit and architecture and site approval for the Ventana School at Christ Episcopal Church. First is an overview of the project site. The project site is located at the intersection of Border Hill Drive and Border Road and is within the urban service area of the city of Los Altos. The general plan designation of the property is urban service area, which we show it with USA, and it is zone R1E-20-N1, which is urban one family estate with 20,000 square feet minimum lot size combining district and Los Altos neighborhood combining district. The Los Altos neighborhood combining district development standard does not apply to this project, as those standards only apply to residential development. The lot is 6.77 acres in size, and it has an average slope of less than 10%. The site is surrounded by single-family residences, and the existing and proposed use classification of the site is religious institution and school. Previous approval for this property includes a use permit which was granted in 1959, allowing a church, parish hall, kindergarten, and preschool on site. The church, parish hall, and classrooms were constructed 1 year after, in 1960. In 2003, a wireless communication facility was established on site. In 2012, the Planning Commission approved a use permit and ASA modification that allowed the addition of an elementary school to the existing preschool and kindergarten. No new building was proposed as a part of this modification, and the school was permitted to utilize existing classrooms and structures that already existed on site with some modification. And finally, in 2016, building site approval was granted to allow the construction of a single-family residence to be used as a rectory. The subject parcel is currently developed with a church, a school, parish hall building that is used for both the church and the school, a single-family residence used as a rectory, and a telecommunication antenna that is located above the church building. There are 2 parking areas on site. One of them is located to the north and the other to the east of the property. The 2 parking areas include 168 parking spaces total, which includes 6 ADA parking spaces. Access to the property is taken from a driveway off Border Road, as is delineated by yellow arrow on the PowerPoint slide. There is an additional driveway onto Border Hill Drive that is gated and is utilized as an emergency access only, which is delineated by green arrow. The existing use permit and ASA for Ventana School allows an elementary school for a maximum of 200 students with 35 staff. Operational hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Under this use permit and ASA, 168 parking spaces, including 6 accessible spaces, are to remain on the property. The approval also includes conditions to facilitate circulation on site, such as supervised loading and unloading in the main parking lot to avoid traffic queuing extending out to Border Road. The lower parking area is to be reserved for kindergarten and preschool students, and the upper parking is conditioned to be utilized for staff parking only. The approval also requires maintaining all existing landscaping on the property. The proposed modification includes construction of 1 new building, which includes 2 attached classrooms, and modification of an existing kitchen in Parish Hall to create a smaller kitchen and an art classroom. It also includes a reduction of 28 parking spaces from 168 to 140 spaces, restripping the lower parking area, an adjustment to the pickup and drop-off location to accommodate the proposed classrooms and school use. The project proposes that the elementary families who have children in the new building be allowed to drop off in the lower parking area and allow staff parking in the lower parking lot at the furthest point from the main doors while maintaining staff parking on the outer edge of the upper parking lot. Additionally, the project includes a proposed increase of 15 staff from 35 to 50. The additional 15 staff will work part-time or remotely. Besides, employee start time will be staggered depending on their role and their status. 4 trees are proposed to be removed, which will be replaced with 13 24-inch box California native trees pursuant to the Santa Clara County Guideline for Tree Protection and Preservation for Land Use Application. No signage or outdoor lighting is proposed as a part of this application. The number of students will remain the same as previous approval at 200, and no changes in hours of operation are proposed. So, school hours will continue to remain Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. As the proposed application involves substantive changes to the site by constructing a new 1,923 square feet classroom building and would reduce parking spaces and alter the pickup and drop-off location, the project was determined to be a major modification. A major modification is subject to a new public hearing and approval by the Planning Commission. The project has been reviewed in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The proposed project qualifies for a Class 14 categorical exemption under Section 15314 for a minor addition to an existing school that does not increase student capacity by more than 25% or 10 classrooms. Applicable findings, policies, and guidelines to this project include general plan policies, zoning ordinance use regulation and development standards, use permit findings, architecture and site approval findings, guidelines for architecture and site approvals. As it was mentioned in the earlier slide, the property has a general plan designation of USA and is located within the urban service area of the City of Los Altos. City of Los Altos staff has acknowledged that the project conforms with the city's general plan and waived annexation of the subject property. Therefore, the project site remains unincorporated and the county development standards and procedures apply. The project is consistent with the goals and strategies of the county general plan. The subject property is zoned R1E-20-N1. Schools are allowed in R1E zoning district subject to a use permit. The subject property has served as both a church and a school operating under a use permit continuously since 1960. Additionally, proposed modification meets the development standard prescribed by zoning ordinance and those stipulated through the condition of approval for the existing use permit. The Ventana School use permit modification is subject to both use permit and ASA findings. The use permit findings are focused on the type of the use, adequacy of the site, and making sure that the proposed modification has minimal impact to the surrounding settings. It is in compliance with general plan policies and zoning ordinance codes, has minimal impact to traffic, and is not detrimental to health, safety, and welfare. The ASA findings are also similar. The proposed project has been reviewed in accordance with these findings, and all the use permit findings and ASA findings can be made. So staff finds that the project is consistent with the applicable findings, regulations, and policies for approval and recommend that the Planning Commission accept the Class 14 CEQA exemption pursuant to Section 15314 of the CEQA guidelines and grant the concurrent land use application for use permit and architecture and site approval modification subject to the condition of approval. This concludes a staff presentation. Staff is available as well as Principal Planner Robert Salisbury to answer any question related to this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that in-depth presentation. I appreciate it. Does the commission have any questions for staff? Vice Chair Belska?
Hi, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. So I have a question, and I had emailed it to you ahead of time. One of the concerns there is traffic queuing, and since they are proposing to modify both the drop-off locations and the circulation pattern, one concern would be that the new locations and new circulation pattern could lead to queuing on the street. I couldn't find anywhere on the plans where the new proposed drop-off locations are, how that is going to impact the traffic flow, and I also didn't see the traffic study didn't mention how the new proposed locations would impact the queuing, or if it would impact the queuing. So if you have any additional information on that, I'd really appreciate it.
If I may, through the chair. So as you mentioned correctly, this information has not been mentioned on the plan, but I have prepared a slide that I can go through the information that has been explained in the use permit letter submitted to the county, as well as the parking study that was prepared by Hexagon Transportation, Inc. So, as I explained before, besides reduction of 28 parking spaces from the lower parking area to accommodate the proposed new building, the project proposes some changes in the drop-off and pickup location. Currently, the use permit condition of approval number 8 specifies that the upper parking area is reserved for staff parking only, And condition number 5 specifies that the lower parking area is reserved for preschool and kindergarten students only. And as a result of these two conditions, there are no parking spaces available to the parents who have children in the elementary school. However, there are 7 available drop-off spaces, as you can see on this slide. To improve the circulation and address the issue regarding the lack of parking spaces for parents who have kids in elementary school, the project proposes some adjustment to the parking area allocation. First of all, the project proposes to relocate some of the staff parking to the lower parking lot at the furthest point from the main doors while maintaining staff parking on the outer edge of the upper parking lot. This would allow to reserve the spots closest to the crosswalk and entrance in the upper parking lot for children and families entering and exiting the school. Additionally, project proposes to allow elementary families who have children in the new building be allowed to drop off in the lower parking lot. Pickup requires parents to park their vehicle and meet their children at the classroom doors. A school has staggered drop-off times to prevent traffic congestion during the drop-off hours. General drop-off hours for elementary students is 8:15 to 8:30 a.m. and general drop-off for preschool students is from 8:50 to 9 a.m. Additionally, the parking study by Hexagon Transportation, Inc., which was conducted during the pickup and drop-off time, indicates that ample parking is available during pickup and drop-off hours, and there was no vehicle queuing at the project driveway or on a street during the morning drop-off and afternoon pickup period. To accommodate the proposed changes, the new proposed condition of approval do not include in the aforementioned to accommodate the proposed changes, the new proposed conditions of approval do not include the aforementioned old conditions, but retain the conditions requiring supervised loading and unloading in the main parking area during morning drop-off and afternoon pickup hours to avoid traffic queuing extending off-site onto border road. Additionally, condition number 7 requires that pickup and drop-off location be painted in the parking area to facilitate circulation.
Do you have any more questions?
I do. Sorry, just a little more clarification. I guess when I was reading drop-off and pickup areas, I assumed it was, you pull up to a curb, kid hops out of the car, you keep driving. But what you just said is that the parents actually have to park. So are pickup areas designated parking spots, or are pickup areas sections of the curb? Or
Through the
pickup and
chair,
drop-off?
Your understanding is correct. So the way that school operates is that the parents are supposed to park their car, walk their children to school, and during the drop-off, then they go to the doors, take their children, and go back to their car and drive back.
So the pickup area is actually going to be like a large designated section of parking spots?
That's correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Escobar, is your mic on? No? It just looks red from here. Okay. Sorry. Okay, if there's no more questions for staff, yeah, it's gleaming from the ceiling, I think. I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant present do they want to address the commission? Going once, going twice? Okay, you don't have to say anything, no pressure. Okay. All right. Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? What about online? Commissioner Levy? No?
No, we do have one speaker when you're ready to invite public comment.
Okay. That was going to be my next question, if there are any speakers.
We do have one speaker in the Zoom room, none in chambers. John Love, we are unmuting you. Please accept the unmute to begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. And can you accept the unmute? Your
Yes.
mic is now open.
Yeah. My name's John Love. I live in the neighborhood. My wife and I have a house just up the hill on Border Hill Road. Yeah, generally, we're in favor of these changes. It seems like a pretty benign change. I'm really here to comment on 2 aspects of traffic. So, as you might imagine, I go to work in the morning and I come home in the evening, which is just about the time that most people arrive or pick up their children. I must say that I have never seen people drive so fast on Valley View than parents who are picking up children at the school. And I was wondering if there was some sort of penalty for picking up your child a little bit late. Of course, I don't have the answer to that. I think that's a question for the applicant. But something to encourage the parents to slow down a little bit would probably be appropriate. I've lived there for 50 years. I know that road really well. You drive much more than 25 miles an hour, you're looking for trouble. Second issue is the stop sign exiting the church onto Border Road. Now, it's got a sign there, and there's a pavement stripe, and it says stop on it. And I have never seen anybody stop. Parents just blow right through that. A couple of times I've hit my brakes really hard to avoid a collision. I would sure like to see some change to that whole entrance stop sign. I don't know what to suggest. That's not my cup of tea, but the parents don't seem to understand that stop means stop. So comments without really a solution. Thanks.
And that concludes our speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. Sounds like maybe local law enforcement should be engaged at some point. Does the staff have any additional comments?
No comment, thank you.
The director was nodding her head. Do you have any comments? No? Okay. All right. And the applicant doesn't wish to speak, so I'm going to close the public hearing and bring the item back to the commission for discussion. Does anybody have any commissioners have any comments? Commissioner Moore.
Yeah, I did go onto the property, and I understand the concern about the traffic. It is a fairly narrow street, and there's on slopes, and I think it would be great to have. Yeah, I think the comments that were made were good and need to be, that's outside the scope of where we are. And in general, yeah, I looked at everything. I was glad to see the replacement trees, that they're all native trees, which is good, including some oaks. It is quite of a mishmash of trees on the property, so it's good to see something a little more consistent there. And otherwise, yeah, I don't see any issues, and I'm ready to make a motion unless there are other comments. Go ahead. So I will move to accept the determination of CEQA categorical exemption pursuant to section 15314, class 14 of the CEQA guidelines, and to grant a major modification of a concurrent land use application consisting of a use permit and architectural and site approval, subject to the proposed conditions of approval.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Moore. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Escobar. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Escobar.
Yes.
Commissioner Rouser.
I approve.
Commissioner Levy.
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Belska.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Donohue.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Moving along to item number 7. The next item is accept annual status report number 11 for period July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, relating to compliance with the 2012 Reclamation Plan Amendment Conditions of Approval, Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, Annual Surface Mining and Reclamation Act inspections, and financial assurance cost estimates for the Permanente Quarry. The owner applicant, Lehigh Southwest Cement Company, property address 24,001 Stevens Creek Boulevard, Cupertino, parcels number 351-09013, 020, 022, 023, 025, 351-10-005, 033, 037, 038, and 351-11-001, 005, 006, 007, and 081. General plan, hillsides, other public open lands, urban service area, Cupertino, zoning HSD1, A-D1, A1-D1, and A1-20S-D1. District 5, file plan PLN 12-2250-2022 annual report. Does the clerk have a Levine Act announcement?
We do not have an announcement on this item.
Okay. Does the staff have a presentation?
Yes, through the chair, Lisa McKyle. We have our resident expert on quarries here, Principal Planner Rob Salisbury, to provide a presentation. I think it's an oral presentation on the annual report for Lehigh.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson O'Donohue and members of the commission. I'll keep it brief. It was a pretty quiet year during the reporting period, as the staff report made clear, I hope. The site has been largely quiet. They're not actively mining. They were not actively mining during this period, just extracting and processing some road aggregate from existing stockpiles. Through much of this period, access was limited, but full access to the site has been restored. The financial assurance for the reporting period has been approved, and so generally things are copacetic out there. The water quality results that are included in the staff report and in the annual report are positive. All of the processed water that was discharged had selenium levels that were well below the basin plan objective of 5 micrograms per liter, which is very encouraging because in past years before Lehigh instituted a water treatment system, the selenium levels were 10, 15, even 20 times above the basin plan objective. So just further verification that the treatment system is operating as intended and keeping selenium levels low. As we normally do, we reached out to all the various county and other jurisdictional agencies to find out if they had issued any violations to Lehigh for their coring operation during the reporting period, and there are no violations issued during this period. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do any commissioners have questions for Mr. Salisbury? Commissioner Rouser?
Yeah, can you just remind us on the ownership? And has that changed? I heard rumors of different changes, but if you can just remind us on that.
Through the chair, the site is still owned by Heidelberg Materials, which is a large multinational corporation headquartered in Germany. They did divest themselves of all of the rest of their West Coast operations, but they still they sold all those others off to Martin Marietta, but they still retain ownership of the Lehigh facility.
Any other questions? Vice Chair Belska?
Yeah, thank you. A couple of date clarifications throughout the report. I think these are probably just typos. Page 6 says that the 2022 FACE was approved on December 29th, 2023. I believe December 29th, 2023 hasn't happened yet.
My apologies. Yes, you're correct. That is December 29, 2022.
22, okay, thank you. And then on page 9, the next intra-agency meeting, again, I'm assuming this was supposed to be March or April of 2024. Item E, the last sentence in item E. Okay.
Yes, my apologies. That should be March, April of 2024. We actually do have a specific date now, which if I'm remembering correctly, is now March 28th of 2024.
Okay. So my main question or request for clarification is the phases that are outlined here say that phase 1 is estimated to occur from 2012 to 2021. But the report from Heidelberg Materials says that they are currently still in phase 1. So are things happening on time? Is this still going to meet the 20-year deadline? Are there penalties for being late in these phases? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Through the chair, I'd be happy to. Reclamation plans do not in and of themselves mandate timing and deadline. They're really sort of anticipated schedules. So often through a quarry, any hard and fast deadlines would be implemented through use permit conditions of approval. In the case of Lehigh Quarry, though, they are a vested quarry, which means they started mining out there at such a time as a use permit from the county was not required. So as a result, we don't have the ability to mandate those types of dates like we would for a quarry that did operate under a use permit. So to answer your question directly, they are far behind the schedule that was laid out in their current reclamation plan. And as I've noted in the staff report, they're actually proposing a significant modification to how they're going to accomplish reclamation on the site for a variety of reasons, which I won't get into now because it will eventually come before you for decision. But yes, they have taken a lot longer than I think they anticipated when they got this rec plan approved.
But even though they're taking longer, that they are still considered to be in compliance.
Yes, again, the rec plan in and of itself cannot mandate deadlines. It's just an anticipated schedule for when these things might occur. Quarries, by their nature, are very influenced by economic cycles and productivity and other factors. So SMAR is intended to give an operator flexibility for production levels and the rate at which reclamation occurs, and especially so for a quarry like Lehigh that is vested, as I said.
Are there new target dates or estimates available?
We don't have new target dates at the moment, largely because the change they're proposing is so, in the rec plan amendment that the department is currently reviewing and processing, is so significant. We could certainly, though, ask them potentially to provide an estimate through next year's report to give us a sense of when reclamation might be completed if they were going to reclaim under the current reclamation plan.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Moore.
Yeah, back to reclamation again. So, it's my understanding that in the past year, you said the materials that were excavated were from existing stock stockpiles of overburden material. And so the first question is that what is going to be anticipated in future years as well? I know the cement plant is done, right? But as far as, is there indication that there would be new mining occurring in the future?
Through the chair, Lehigh has communicated to us they will not be doing any more mining on site. The 2019 reclamation plan amendment that they had submitted that we were processing until we stopped for reasons that don't bear getting into it at this time, that reclamation plan did anticipate new mining of limestone. But the reclamation plan amendment that we're currently processing is a closure plan and acknowledges or states at multiple times in that plan that they will not be doing any additional mining of limestone and will only harvest or rather process and sell material that they had previously mined and stockpiled. So we do not anticipate any new mining activities out there other than the processing of existing stockpiles.
Okay, yeah. And then I guess in the future, do you have a sense of the timing of when the reclamation plan environmental impact report the new one would be coming to us?
That's a good question. It is a little variable. We did just recently deem their application incomplete. They have up to a full year to resubmit, and there's no guarantee necessarily that it will be deemed complete after the resubmittal. Then once it's deemed complete, we have to prepare an environmental impact report. And then after that, it would come to the Planning Commission for consideration. So I think realistically, it's at least 2.5 years away maybe from making its way to you for a decision.
Okay, yeah, so that would likely mean then that it didn't sound like significant reclamation work, like phase one, for example, that could just be stalled quite a bit, it sounds like. I mean, given what you were saying about no specific deadlines and such like that.
To some extent, it could. There are some rules in the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act that require them to continue a minimum level of production. And if they don't meet that level of production, they have to either start reclamation or file for what's called an interim management plan, which then allows them to be idle. And under SMARA, the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act, a quarry can be idle for up to 15 years. And then at the end of that period, they have to either commence operating in normal production or they have to reclaim and close.
Wow, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
To the chair, Commissioner Levy had his hand up before, but it looks like it's down, and I'm uncertain if he had a question or comment.
No, my comments were addressed. Thank you.
Okay, are there,
I just have a
Commissioner
question
Reiser.
based on what he just said, now that I'm processing that. So it almost sounds like you can get a 15-year pause for reclamation. If that's going to be a huge cost, you can almost punt it for 15 years? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's correct. And I think that was deliberate on the part of the writers of the legislation in order to allow the industry flexibility to account for economic cycles and changes to the industry. Quarries are difficult to permit, and so I think there's an intent to allow them to stay viable and continue to potentially operate and weather economic downturns and then come out of it the other side and begin production again.
It's an issue of concern, and we will be looking into it throughout this process.
Okay, but because SMARA is in control here, we can give our input, but we don't really have much control over this. Is that right?
I think the question, the key question is whether they are pausing their mining for economic reasons, or it just involves a delay of reclamation. And I think that's going to be dependent on the facts and circumstances as we evaluate the project.
Okay. Are there any speakers?
We have no speakers on the item.
No speakers. Okay. Okay, let's bring the item for discussion. Do any of the commissioners have any points to discuss? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to invite a motion to accept the annual report or
I'll
status
make a
report.
motion, we accept the report.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rouser. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And second by Commissioner Moore. Can we get a roll call?
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Escobar. Yes. Commissioner Rouser.
I approve.
Commissioner Levy.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Belska.
Yes.
Chairperson O'Donoghue.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Item number 8, I have no report. Item number 9, any reports from commissioners? No reports from commissioners. Item number 10, report from county council.
No report.
Item number 11, report from the planning commission secretary.
Sure, thank you. Lisa McKyle through the chair. I'm not recalling, this last Tuesday we attended the Board of Supervisors and they adopted our zoning ordinance for our housing element update. They did follow Planning Commission's recommendation. So this includes the alternative means for the inclusionary housing, I'm sorry, not inclusion, let me not say that, for the affordable housing, and had findings associated with it with a majority vote and not a 4/5 vote.
Excellent. And item number 12, report from the Deputy Director of Planning Services.
I do not have anything to report.
All right. A report from the director.
Well, I could report on a lot, but I won't. I do want to let the commission know that I had mentioned to the commission at our last meeting that we were looking at our services and looking at changing how we are operating. And so we are still under that review, looking at how we are offering services, and we're looking at requiring appointments to take in land use applications. It's something that we're bringing forward to our applicants roundtable. As you know, we're in a budget situation right now. The planning department had been operating under a 25% vacancy rate. We are now at about a 13% vacancy rate. So we're happy about that. But even with that, we are looking at efficiencies for our services. And so we're looking at changing some of our operations. We are excited to use technology, but we also recognize that the face-to-face goes a long way with many of our constituents. And so we're not going to completely take away electronic submittals, but due to some legislature, we're having to change how we're doing business. So we'll bring that back to the Planning Commission so that you all are clear on what we're embarking on.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, moving along, number 14, receive correspondence 118869. That has been received. And now to item number 19, time to adjourn. The next regular meeting is scheduled for January 18th at 6 p.m. right here in the Board of Supervisor chambers. Meeting is adjourned.